Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to day number 2 of the Master Your Messaging live event. I am so excited for today. And I'm so excited for day 3, but today is day 2. So let's hop right into it. Let's do a quick check-in. How did you guys enjoy day 1? Be honest. If you hated it, let me know. If you loved it, I'm gonna look over the chat box and see the responses. Let me know how you guys loved day number 1. Let me know where you're tuning in from, and we'll kind of do a little roll call here. We have California. Let's see here. I need this little scroller guy. Give me a second. Loved it. Haven't stopped thinking about it. Great. Mind blown. Amazing. It was amazing. Great, great, great. Is there really 7,200 people here? That's how many people registered. I don't know how many people are actually live, but so damn good. Great. That's awesome. I haven't seen one person say they haven't liked this. That's great. We have people from Ontario. Can't believe it was 2 hours. You know what? I can't believe it was 2 hours. I was blown away. I thought it was gonna be like an hour long, and it was long. But I'm glad it was. It means we went through a lot of stuff. And today, hopefully, will be a little bit shorter for you guys because I know time is your most valuable asset. But anyways, we have people from Canada, Chile, New Zealand, Alberta, Canada. Let's see, Austin, Texas. Great. People from all over the world. Amazing. Okay, cool. So let's just get right into it. I'm going to hop right into today's presentation. So day 1, hopefully what you guys picked up from day 1 is that there's other ways to add value inside of people's lives besides just giving them information. And when we give people information to try to fix a problem, we actually are requiring them to do more work to solve a problem. Whereas if we make people aware of mistakes they're making and get them to stop doing it, we get them to save their energy and they can solve a problem, okay? So again, we need both. And today what we're gonna do, and hopefully what you've realized from day 1 was pretty much all of that. It was like, let me show you what to stop doing so I can add value in your life. Today is gonna be more focused on, okay, let's start putting some pieces together. Now I wanna be really honest and upfront with you guys. I know, and I'm very well aware that what we've talked about may be new, it may be different, it may be mind-blowing, it may be stuff you've never heard before. You might think like, oh my God, this is all I need. We've only scratched the surface. And we're gonna go deeper today, and we're gonna go deeper on day 3. And then for those of you who wanna go to the depths of the depths and transform everything, our program will actually be opening up on Monday, okay? So what we need you guys to do, and what I need you guys to focus on now, what we're going to do is we're going to do the chat box a little bit different this time. While I'm teaching, we're probably going to minimize and stop the chat so everyone can pay attention to what's going on, and then we'll open it up at certain points throughout today. Okay, so go ahead and get your comments in now. In about a couple of minutes, we're gonna cut it off. But for those of you who are new, maybe you registered and you didn't get just recently and you didn't get to see day number 1. We like to give away money. We like to give away prizes. And what we're going to do here is summarize day 1 in a second. But for those of you who don't know, every single day of our boot camp, we are giving out a $500 prize. All you need to do, and I'll pull up the slides here in a second, but all you need to do is use this hashtag that you see on the screen right now, which is hashtag #MasterMyMessage. And I want you to put it in the Facebook group. The Facebook group is called Master My Messaging Facebook group. The one thing that I need you to do, because this is the same hashtag as day 1, I want you to use or reference day number 2. So when you go and you leave your breakthrough, say my biggest breakthrough from day number 2 so that we know. If the words day number 2 are not in your post, it will not count for day number 2. So use the same hashtag, but day number 2. My team is going to go in and pick the person they thought had the biggest breakthrough from today, and that person will win $500 sent right over to you via PayPal. So that's exciting, right? Okay, cool. Now we have a couple more things that we need to go through. We'll go through them at the end. We have things like our game show. We're giving out even more prizes and stuff all next week. We have options to get hot seats and all of that stuff. We'll talk more about that at the end. Before we jump right into day number 2, I want to kind of recap for those of you who are brand spanking new, day number 1. Okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to close down the chat, and I'm going to hop into the recap. We'll get into training. I'll check in with you guys, and we will bring it back up, okay? All right, so remember, most people are stuck in the unheard entrepreneur trap. That's probably why you're here. You know, I'm assuming that something we said, or maybe you followed us for a while, or something in our ad really hit you. It triggered you, or it called out to you, and you're like, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm doing, or that's what I'm struggling with. And the reason why I know that is because I'm doing exactly what I taught you on day number 1. I'm making you aware of things. And most people are not aware of what I'm calling the unheard entrepreneur trap, which is the content circle of death. Now, the content circle of death is basically your niche. And when we focus just on information, or if we're not intentional with our content at all, if we just post and post and post, if we're the only person in our niche, the entire niche is going to pay attention to us. But as we start to get more and more competitors, the niche gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And eventually we start getting perceived by our audience as the same person or same thing as everyone else. And we blend in. What we need to do is operate outside the content circle of death. Today, what I'm going to start doing is showing you what messaging elements allow you to operate outside the content circle of death and bring people into your ecosystem, okay? Now, the thing I want you to realize is that this issue, it's not going away, guys. Some of you might be looking at this and going like, I can do this on my own, or I don't need to worry about this. And by all means, go and try and do whatever it is that you need to do. But I'm telling you, the thing that caused this problem is like a giant snowball coming down the mountain. It's getting bigger and faster. And the pandemic sped it all up. There's more offline businesses coming online. There's more people that are now aware of online content, and they're putting content out online. Competitors are coming in at alarming rates. If you do not master your message, and you do not master your communication, or master your positioning in the marketplace, you will continue, most likely, not everything's 100%, but you will most likely continue to struggle. And if you're struggling already, you're been plateaued for more than 3 months, there is something going on. And doing the same thing likely won't fix it, okay? So again, just to bring this a step further, I want you guys to remember education doesn't have to be done in the form of tutorials. When we look at best-selling books, we look at TED Talks, they're usually getting someone to look at something differently. They're giving someone a new perspective. They're getting you to stop making mistakes. They're raising your awareness. Inside our program, the New Generation Mastery Program, we actually have 6 different ways to do educational content, and only one of them is a tutorial, and it's called a persuasive tutorial, because it isn't just about getting up there and teaching. We're doing some other stuff while we teach to create demand. I want you guys from here on out, whether this is your last day with me or you decide to continue on to day 3 and continue with us on Monday and enroll into our program, the one thing that I want you to do is I want you to be intentional with how you are communicating. Most people just get up and they focus on teaching, and they start listing all the benefits, and they start saying, here's all the modules, and here's all the things, and here's the solution I can provide, and then they fall flat. Because they never really thought through, how do I communicate so it lands from my audience's perspective? And honestly, everyone listening, this is the biggest problem with communication, is humans, we naturally communicate from our perspective instead of the perspective of the audience we want to attract. If we can be intentional to communicate from the perspective of the audience we want to attract, we start to speak in a way that doesn't require them to think, but automatically goes, this person gets it, they understand me, I feel heard, I feel seen, they have the solution. When we communicate from our perspective, we don't always land that way. It doesn't always land that way with them, because what we're doing is we're trying to get them to meet us where we're at versus meeting them where they're at, okay? So to sum it up, day number 1, we add value in other ways than just giving information. So we shift people's perspective and their beliefs. We take away things that are holding them back. Number 2, connection is based on who you are. So most people try to get into the mind of this make-believe audience. They're like, okay, there's this bucket of people, and I need to say the magic words for that bucket to open up, and these people will come into my audience. It's not like that, guys. We have to understand there's billions and billions and billions of people on this planet. And we're not all put into boxes. We have shared identities and beliefs, right? So you might put me in the same box as some of you may know who James Wedmore is one of my good friends. You guys might put me in the same box as James, but James and I are not the same. Someone could put out a piece of content that talks about being a parent, and that will attract me, but it won't attract James because he's not a parent. So there isn't this magical box of your ideal client. There is billions of people that have all individual beliefs and identities and values, and some of them overlap. And then when you embrace who you are and you embrace who you want to attract, and you share the same identities and you put that into your content, you go into that pool of billions of people and you pull the ones that are most like you. This is what everyone does. Gary Vaynerchuk, Mel Robbins, Tony Robbins, they all embrace who they are. And then that's who they attract, the people that are most like them. Number 3 is we communicate in a way that doesn't require our audience to think. We're going to talk more about this today. And number 4, we have to connect it to a unique offer. Okay? That's pretty much what we talked about on day number 1. Day number 2 today, we're going to dive a little bit deeper in how to actually do this. Okay, so today is going to be more of that information-based stuff. I am going to require you guys to take some kind of action in order to see result today. Day 1, you got lucky. You didn't have to do anything. You got to keep your energy because you got to stop doing all these things that weren't working. So today I'm going to show you what to start doing. All right? Today's all about 4 main focuses of effective messaging. There's 4 of them. I want to be very clear about one thing. Content is nothing more than a vehicle that delivers a message. Matt, is it possible to throw 3 slides on this? I want this to kind of come up on the big screen. I want you guys to kind of see it over here. So, okay, that's this is, okay, okay, well, this is not going great. All right, hold on, guys. Let's take it off the big screen. My plan is falling apart in front of our eyes. Okay, so just throw the slides back up. Sorry about that. Okay, so I want you guys to realize something before we move on. I want you to realize that content is nothing more than a vehicle that delivers a message. This is one of the biggest problems that I see over and over and over again, is that people think content is the solution. Content is a vehicle. And most people will go like, oh my God, my content's broken. I need to fix my content. So what they try doing is they go from like this beat up, I don't even know what that is, Ford Pinto or I don't know, something. And then they try to get like the brand new Tesla. Here's the newest trend. Here's the newest platform. Here's the newest thing. Here's the best content. Here's the content that's killing it and crushing it right now. But none of it matters if you have a baby driving the car. You're not going to go anywhere. Messaging is the driver of the car. And it doesn't matter how many nice Teslas or vehicles you use, or how many times you switch content, or how many times you switch platforms, or how many times you post. It doesn't matter how great your content looks or how bad it actually is. If your messaging is all messed up, that car, that vehicle, it's going nowhere. Doing more, working harder, posting more, following trends leads to wasted time, because what we're doing is we're focusing on a surface level thing. We're focusing on a surface level item in attempt to fix a solution. And to kind of give an example here, if someone was, just this would be a little bit of a harsh metaphor or analogy, but if someone was living next to like on top of a old nuclear testing ground or something like that, and they get cancer, and they go to the doctor, and the doctor heals them because they, with chemo and all of this stuff, and then they go right back to living in the same spot that caused the cancer, they're going to get it again. You didn't actually solve the problem. And this is the biggest thing for people, is that we keep focusing on the wrong things. We keep focusing on the surface level things. Messaging is the driver. And that's what we're going to talk about today. What I'm going to do is take you from someone who doesn't know how to drive or is struggling to figure out how to drive, and make you a race car driver. So no matter what you have a beat up Ford Pinto or you have a Tesla, it doesn't matter. You're going to be able to get to where you want to go. Sure, now, once our messaging is dialed in, let's focus on going after content. Let's do that. I'm going to do that with you on day number 3. I will show you how to start creating and putting this message into content that actually gets you results. I will show you how to have the Tesla, but today's not about the Tesla. Today's not about the beat up Ford Pinto. Today's about making you the race car driver. Today is about teaching you messaging. So I'm just going to come out and say it. You do not need to dance and point inside of your content unless you want to. You don't need to be on TikTok. That's supposed to say IG. You don't need to be on Instagram either. You don't need to be on Facebook. You don't need to be on LinkedIn. You don't need to be on YouTube unless you want to. Everything is about what you want to do so we can get you energetically in alignment with what's going to work best for you, your message, and your business. When we start to do things we don't want to do, it throws off the power of our message as well. You have to understand that messaging is, yes, it's the words you're saying, but it's also how you're communicating it. Are you speaking powerfully? And if you're constantly doing things you don't want to do, it will mess up how people deliver it, even if you nail the words. So I've seen people be successful just with images, just with videos, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Facebook. I've seen it all. The holistic psychologist is pretty much only on Instagram. I think she's on YouTube a little bit, but she focuses mostly on images. I know other people that blew up on YouTube. It literally doesn't matter. It's about what you want to do. Now, obviously, you need to be somewhere. You need to put out content somewhere, but you don't need to be all over the place. You don't need to do video unless you want to. You don't need to post every day if you don't want to. You guys don't need to do anything unless you want to. This is the biggest part of messaging. I want you to embrace what you want to do. Okay, so when we look at Lewis Howes, he has a purpose-driven podcast, and his podcast episodes get repurposed over to YouTube, but his main driver is a weekly, I think it's weekly, purpose-driven podcast. He used to do a ton of LinkedIn tutorials. That's what he used to do. But now he's focusing on a purpose-driven podcast, and boom, he blows up. When we look at Mel Robbins, a lot of her content is actually filmed with her phone. She films a lot of content in the car with her son having conversations. She's pretty successful. Simon Sinek, I've never seen him dance around and point at anything. He's one of the leaders in talking about corporate leadership. I don't see him on TikTok pointing at things. And I haven't researched this fully, so hopefully someone doesn't go to TikTok and find him pointing at himself and posting in the Facebook group. But I'm pretty sure, let's just say 99% of his content is not him dancing and pointing. Okay? There might be this one opportunity where he did it one time, but mostly doesn't do that. Let's look at what I do. Most of my growth comes from a weekly podcast. We release our podcast once a week. That's it. We repurpose a lot of that and put it on platforms like Instagram and YouTube, but I don't focus on those platforms. I focus on the podcast, and we're doing just fine. Holistic Psychologist, mostly image content. David Goggins never gives tutorials. So you guys get to pick what it is that you want to do. You guys get to pick the vehicle. I'm going to give you some options tomorrow on day number 3. But today, I want you to focus on what is it that you want to do, what is it that you want to say, and let's start figuring out how we want to communicate it. So again, doing more, working harder, posting more, following trends leads to a lot of waste of time because it's a surface level attempt at fixing a problem. Again, most people will look at this tree and they'll look at the fruit, they'll look at the growth and like, wow, this tree is really strong, it's really great. The fruit tastes amazing. This is like a really awesome tree. But they don't realize the thing that makes the tree awesome is this intricate root system that nourishes it, that brings in the water, keeps it hydrated, it keeps it grounded underneath the soil. That tree would not be amazing if it wasn't for the roots. If we want to grow a better tree, we better sure as hell start looking at how do we nourish the roots? How do we cater to the roots? That's the same thing with messaging. You want better content? Stop looking at content and start looking at messaging. That's how we fix this. All right. Messaging isn't something that happens in one video. This is another really common mistake that I see all the time. Almost everyone thinks that the tagline or the bio on their Instagram profile is messaging. And I see it all the time. I've actually seen it in the group a little bit. It's like, hey guys, here's my tagline for the Instagram bio. What do you think? And my response is always like, yeah, it's fine. Like whatever. No one cares. Like that's not going to drive sales. That's not going to grow your following. Like think about it. Have you guys ever bought something online from someone or followed someone because their tagline on their Instagram profile or the bio like crushed it? Probably not. Maybe, but probably not. So we have to understand that messaging is an ecosystem. It's not a single line. It's not one ad. It's not one email. It's not one webinar. It's all of it. We have messaging, and messaging fuels all the vehicles. The vehicles are ads, videos, your content, your emails, your webinars, your sales pages. Those are all vehicles that deliver the message. We have to develop a messaging ecosystem so that no matter where someone is online, they experience you, even if you're on someone else's podcast, it's very consistent. So I'm going to draw this out for you guys here on the board, but I want you to realize that messaging is an ecosystem. And this ecosystem does need action in order to thrive and to grow. You need to learn and you need to evolve. What you start with when it comes to messaging will not be what you end with, but you do have to get started in order to get there. Most people sit here and they're like, I need to get my message perfect and perfect and perfect, and I need clarity, and oh my God, I'm so confused. In fact, some of you guys might be feeling that right now. Like, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't really know where to begin. I'm not really clear yet. Like, the concepts that Brandon is talking about make sense. I just don't know how to do it yet. And by the way, guys, that's normal because I haven't showed you how to do it yet. So that's normal if you're feeling overwhelmed and you have a lack of clarity. That's fine. But I also want you to understand that action brings the clarity. You know, you might have 100 steps that you have to go through in order to get to the result you want. You can sit here and think and think and think and process before you ever actually take step number one. And then when you finally take it, you have a higher perspective. Then you take step number 2, you have a higher perspective. You take step number 3, you have a higher perspective. How long, it's going to take you guys 100 steps to get to the result you want. How long those 100 steps takes you is up to you. It could take you a month, it could take you a week, it could take you a year. It's up to you on how long you want those steps to take. So the philosophy I always have is when it comes to messaging is that when something feels about 70% perfect, I run with it. Maybe some of you guys saw our Instagram post today about typos. I don't care about typos. Literally doesn't matter to me. Last year when we did this launch, we threw out a cheat sheet for everyone to use. And in the very first sentence, by the way, it went out to 25,000 people. So 25,000 people downloaded this worksheet. The very first line said something about shifting perspective, and we forgot the F in the word shift. It went out to 25,000 people. It didn't hurt our launch. We're running an ad right now called Master Your Messaging, but we forgot the S, so it's like Mater Your Messaging. People are commenting on it, making fun of us. Don't care. We're running it. Why? Because it's converting. Literally don't care. When things are 70% perfect, we run with it. I don't waste time and energy worrying. I'm not afraid. I maintain my personal power, and that allows me to have effective messaging. So let me draw this out for you guys on the board here. And this is what your messaging ecosystem is going to look like. You can draw this out too if you want. So let me draw a circle. This is our ecosystem. What we need to do inside of here, which camera am I looking at? This one, okay. What we need to do is this is our ecosystem. And we have to understand underneath our ecosystem we have ads. We have, let's just call it content. That might be images. Let's call it like videos. We might have a webinar. Let's call it a sales page. And I am going to check in with you guys in a minute, so if you want to go to the chat, we'll open it up in just a second. Sales page, emails. Did I put email in there? Email. And you guys get the point, right? So this is our ecosystem, and our ecosystem's filled with all of these vehicles. Now, what's going to happen is these vehicles here that you see here, every single one of them is going to be made up of messaging elements. There's over 11 of them that you need. Inside our program, we walk you through all of this so you can start setting it up. Someone asked on the last call, like, what are all 11? I can't give you all 11 because that would take me hours to go through every single one. But we did reveal some of them to you guys. So we have things like the struggling avatar. If you guys don't know what that is, you can watch the recording of Master Your Audience in the Facebook group. We have the future-paced hero. We have our unique solution. We'll talk about this today. So there's 3 of them there, right? So those are 3 right there. So what happens is when we get our messaging elements figured out, we then distribute all of these messaging elements through our vehicles, our content. So what's going to happen is someone might see our ad, which brings them to go see our content. Then they see an image. Then they watch one of our videos. They watch a webinar. Then they see our sales page. And then maybe they see an email. And what happens is we have people out here who come in from an ad, or they come in because one of our pieces of content got shared, and they're now in our ecosystem. The longer they sit in our ecosystem, the more vehicles they experience. But remember, the vehicles are made up of our messaging elements. These are the invisible things that no one will ever see. Once I reveal these to you, you'll see them inside of my messaging everywhere. Unheard Entrepreneur is one of them. Unheard Entrepreneur is a person who's been plateaued, who focuses 70% on how-to and educational content. They can't convert anyone. They've been plateaued, again, for 3 months or more. And then we have the New Generation Entrepreneur, and we have our unique solution. The New Generation Entrepreneur is a person who stands out because they stand for something. They're able to create demand. Our unique solution is the New Generation Mastery Method. Those are our messaging elements. As you guys can tell, these have all been delivered through these things. The longer someone sits inside of our messaging ecosystem, the more messaging elements they get. Now, here's the thing. You don't need to put every single messaging element in every single piece of content. People should sit in this ecosystem, and the longer they sit there, the more elements they get exposed to. So it's an effect that happens over time. If you're brand new to me, the longer you sit in our Facebook group, the longer you're on my podcast, the longer you watch these trainings, the more messaging elements you're being exposed to. It doesn't happen in one line. It doesn't happen in one piece of content. It doesn't happen in whatever. So the question is like, how do we start to get people into our messaging ecosystem? Our content and our ads are generally the way we do that. We integrate identities. We integrate our beliefs. We make them aware of certain things with ads, with content, and it pulls people into our messaging ecosystem. We have to change the way we're communicating so that people see a title and they're like, whoa, that calls out to me. I need to watch this. Or that's curious. Let me think about that. Then they're exposed. And then it starts this whole circle and the messaging elements get distributed to them. So let me check in with you guys in the chat. We're going to open up the chat here in a second. Does this make sense? You guys understand the process of messaging and an ecosystem. It starts with messaging elements that get distributed through vehicles, and that becomes our messaging ecosystem. So give me some yeses and no's in that chat box. Okay, yes. Makes so much sense. Absolutely. Don't let babies drive Teslas. That's a great takeaway. Although you might be okay because Teslas have auto drive now. Okay, cool. Looks like a bunch of yeses. Makes sense. Okay, cool. And I'm just going to keep drinking my kombucha here. Okay, great. Makes sense. All right, let's move on to the next phase of this. Let's start putting some of this stuff together. Can we have a close-up of the image? Yeah, we can do that real quick. Let me see if there's any other questions. Ads were where I had a major problem. Yeah. Ads, but remember that ads are only one piece of this, guys. If you can't run ads, there's other options of things you can do. Okay. There you go. Take a screenshot. We are moving on. I want you guys to think of something. Again, I've been doing this for so long. We've worked with over 1,000 entrepreneurs. I know that one of the biggest things is that people want to try to perfect every piece of content. But in order to have amazing messaging, you actually have to put out a lot of really crappy content, way more than any home run based content. I mean, just go look at our Instagram, guys. You can see one piece of content we posted today already has like over 100 likes or something like that. And then when you look at content that's posted like 2 or 3 days ago, it probably has like less than 50. You're not going to hit a home run every single time. You have to learn. So I want you to think about everyone right now. I'm going to keep the chat up and we're going to close it. I want everyone. Just saw the 3M clip fart. What does that even mean? You guys are so weird, but I'm glad you're here. Okay, so I want you to think about someone you follow online. Go ahead and think about that person right now. And I want you... Oh, we did change it. This is my immaturity coming out live right now. We did say 3M flip fart. flip instead of flip chart. Okay, so let's focus. Back to the person you guys follow online. I want you to think about someone you follow online. Can you name every single piece of content that they've delivered over the last 5 days? Yes or no's in the chat box. Can you tell me every single piece of content and vehicle they have delivered over the last 5 days that you have consumed? I know there's a little bit of a delay, but the answer, there we go, no's, no, no, no. But can you remember at least one piece of content they posted that really hit you hard? I'm assuming the answer is probably yes. You probably couldn't tell me that there is at least one piece of content, or there's one philosophy, or there's one perspective shift that they gave you. The answer is probably yes. And I could be an example of that, guys. For those of you who are on day number 1, you probably only remember like 1 or 2 of the big concepts that were like, whoa, but you're not going to be able to recite everything that I delivered to you on day 1. There was a lot of really shitty content on day number 1. There's a lot of like really boring stuff that I had to go through. But I incorporated a lot of home runs, and it was like mind-blowing. So this is what we have to remember, is that messaging takes time. You have to be able to put things out even though you're not okay with it. Here's the thing, guys, I want to, before we hop right into the 4 things, our focus of today, I want you to realize that part of messaging is maintaining personal power. And this might get a little woo-woo, and trust me, when I first got started in online business, anytime someone talked about mindset or energy or this stuff, I just said, turn that crap off and give me the freaking strategy. But I was never successful. It wasn't until I was successful that I started looking at these invisible things. Right now, I have zero fear about a typo. We've already had typos here today. We put fart on our flip chart. I didn't even know. I've screwed up and had the slides in the middle. Don't care. No one can call me out. No one can do anything because I don't give my power away to them. We had people on day 1 talk about my typos. Great. Go ahead. Mention my typos. We're going to move on. No one can interrupt me. No one can take my power away because I don't have any fear. I don't have any fear about trying something. I don't have any fear about something going out in a typo. I don't have any fear about people thinking something about me. I don't care. I hope that I'm impacting you. I hope that I'm serving you guys. I do hope that you guys like me. But if you came up to me and said, this is the worst presentation I've ever seen in my entire life, it wouldn't bother me an ounce because I'm maintaining my personal power. And that's a huge piece of messaging. So I want you guys to recognize that. The reason why I bring this up is because messaging needs to evolve, which means we need to test, which means we need to put stuff out. And we actually need personal power to be able to go do that. We need to be courageous. Even if we're afraid, that's okay. But do it anyways. That's being courageous. All right? All right. So here's what we're going to focus on. There's 2 main components of what we're going to focus on today. Number 1 is what to say and how to say it. Okay, so actually let's turn the chat off again, whoever's in charge of that, and we're going to get back into the training. So there's 3 things. We need to figure out what to say, we need to figure out how to say it, and we need to figure out how to deliver it, and that's going to be day number 3, all right? So when we can figure these 3 things out, here's what starts to happen. This shouldn't be new to you, because we've talked about this before, but the effect we get is eyeballs on us. We get to keep the eyeballs on us. And we get to create demand while the eyeballs are on us. I don't know what this was, but it was my excitement. That's the biggest thing, is demand creation. Content should be adding value, and it should be creating demand. Oops, so that's the effect we get to experience. So here's the thing. I want you guys to really identify and just see, is this a real problem in your life before we get going? But here's how you know what you're saying is off. If you yourself lack clarity, you're like, I'm not even clear on my message or how to say it, guess what? Your audience isn't going to lack clarity on what it is you do too. So if you lack clarity, then we know what you're saying is off. If you feel like you're the unheard entrepreneur, if you've experienced any problem that I've been talking about over the last 2 days or even the last couple of weeks, you are the unheard entrepreneur. If you lack engagement, you feel icky when you go to sell, or you don't even know how to sell, or people aren't even showing up for your pitches, well, what you're saying is off. Resentment of topics. If you feel resentment of a topic, or you've been doing something for so long, you're like, oh my God, I just have to keep doing this thing because this is what's making me the money. I can tell you what you're saying is off. It's time for a pivot. It's time for an evolution. It's time to evolve. So the second you resent topics, content, students, and more, and I've gone through this myself, that's how I know it, it's time for you to change what you're saying. If you're confused on what to post, you lack passion for what you're talking about or posting because you've been doing it for someone else. Maybe you're doing it for your parents. You're doing it because that's what you've always done. You're doing it because that's what you think people want. You have generalized messaging and no one really knows what you do or what you stand for. Then we know what you're saying is off. Now, here's why this is happening. So again, I'm going to go through a couple mistakes, bring awareness to some of these mistakes for you. Survey results control the majority of your message. We do want to survey our audience so we figure out how to say certain things. And if they tell us they want us to talk about something and it fits within our ecosystem, then go ahead and do it. But we don't just do everything because someone told us to do it. You have a fear of haters. You're doing what you've always been doing because it's comfortable. You're doing what you're certified in, even though you don't really have a passion for it. You're doing what your parents told you to do. You're not remembering who you are. You're not focusing on what you want to do or what you want to say. You let the external world control your message. This would be things like haters, survey results, negative comments on your post, all of that stuff. So here's the solution. The 4 things we're going to focus on today. Go ahead, write these down, take a screenshot, get ready. Number 1, connection through identity and values. That's number 1. Number 2 is we need to shift perspective and beliefs, which allows you to play on the edges. We're going to talk about this a little bit more today, but when I said find the things they're doing that they don't realize that they're doing, this is what allows you to play on the edges. I realized 2 or 3 years ago that everyone was doing how-to content all the time, and I realized it led to problems, so I make them aware of it, which means I go against the grain, because I'm going against the grain of something that no one's aware of yet. So guess what? I automatically stand out. I'm the purple freaking bulldog, because I'm saying things that no one else is saying, but I'm communicating in a way that people go like, oh my God, he's right. So we want to play on the edges. And it's beautiful because we get to end suffering inside of people's lives, and that's what this is all about. Number 3, our message does have to be connected to a unique offer. This is how we start to create demand. And number 4, we have to learn how to speak it so that our audience automatically gets it and we don't require them to think about whether or not they get it. Okay? So again, let's go through the 4 things. Connection through identity and values. Shift perspective and beliefs, which allows you to play on the edges. Connected to a unique offer. And sorry, I'll put it right here. Speak so an audience automatically understands what we're saying without requiring them to think. All right, let's move on. We're going to go through all of these things right now, so get prepared, get ready. Let's start with connection through identities and values. There's going to be the first 3 things we're going to go through is going to be focused on what to say, okay? So the first one, connection with identities and values. The first thing that I want you guys to stop doing is I want you to stop thinking that vulnerability builds connection, because it doesn't. I know this is going to be like, what? This is me going against the grain again. This is me playing on the edges. But hear me out. Vulnerability is a vehicle, and it is a vehicle that releases the things that build connection. So when we look at your best friend, again, you're building connection with your best friend, and it happens automatically because you guys have shared values, identities, and beliefs. And the stronger the relationship, I'm sure the stronger the identities, the values, and the beliefs that you have. And once the connection is established, then you feel safe to be vulnerable. So vulnerability can build connection. You can connect through problems. You can connect through those things. But let's just say, I was vulnerable today about a fight I got in with my wife. I didn't get in a fight with my wife, but as an example. And I said that to you guys. That's not going to necessarily build a connection or the connection I want. I might get sympathy. I might have comments like, oh, I feel so sorry for you, or this or that, whatever. But that sort of response, emotional response, doesn't move the needle for me. So if we're vulnerable about the wrong things, we build the wrong types of connections. So we have to understand that vulnerability by itself doesn't build connection. Now, I want to tell you guys a quick story about probably one of the hardest days in my life as an entrepreneur. What you see here are 2 pictures of when I was working at my in-laws' house. We lived there for 4 years as we started our business because we were dead broke. It took me really like 4 years to make any money. The kitchen table there with the whiteboard, and then I built a stand-up desk. And on that stand-up desk, I perfected the perfect webinar. I'm not going to name any names, but there's someone out there advertising the perfect webinar framework. Followed it to a T, and I drove as much traffic as we could. I was posting videos on YouTube at the time. I think I had maybe 100 to 120 people register for this event. I thought I was going to get like a 20% conversion rate. I thought we were going to make thousands of dollars, and I thought that day was going to be the start of my entire life changing forever. Up until this point, I had a decent-sized following. I spent money on ads, and I was able to get 120 people registered. My wife was working to support us at the time. She gave me a kiss on her way out and said, "Good luck on the webinar. Call me and let me know what happens." I was so nervous, I scripted this entire webinar out to every single word. I literally read the entire webinar because I was so scared and so nervous. I go and I deliver the webinar. I thought it was going to be perfect. I'm like, this is it. I followed everything that I was supposed to do. I followed the perfect vehicle, and I filled it up with things that I thought people wanted, information and benefits and stuff like that. Deliver the webinar. I don't remember how many people register. 0 sales. I get off the webinar, check my PayPal account. I had no sales. I was crushed. And then my phone rings, and it's my wife. And she's on her lunch break, and she says, "How did it go? Is our life changed forever?" And even to this day, it almost makes me emotional because it was extremely hard to have to tell the person that I love, who's been supporting me for years, I didn't do it. It didn't work. You can't quit your job. But something happened later that day. About 4 hours later, I get an email notification, "You made a sale." Hallelujah, we made a sale. And a couple more came in. The webinar totally didn't bomb. Like, we didn't get skunked. We had a couple sales, but it wasn't anything sustainable. But I remember one email in particular that came in, and what happened was, is a person told me, "I've been watching you on YouTube. I really love who you are as a person. I didn't even watch the webinar, but just the headline alone tells me, because I was a webinar on how to rank videos on YouTube. I'm like, I want to learn how to rank videos on YouTube, and I like you and trust you, so I bought." And I was like, what the heck is going on? They bought because they connected with me. And they don't even know me. They knew me through my content. So what I want to do is I want to show you guys how to start to do that. I want to show you how to get people to start connecting with you based on who you are so that sales become easier. Because if someone doesn't like you, they will not buy. They just won't. And this launch is a perfect example. Like, I cuss from time to time, or I will like say things about typos and people get offended and then they leave. Even though they know this information can help them, they don't like that. I rub them the wrong way for whatever reason, and that's fine. And then they leave, even though they know the information can help. Okay? So here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to write down, and we're going to pause here for a second, your top 5 core values. I'm going to do this with you on the board. I want you to write down your top 5 core values. And I want you to do it from most important to least important. So I'm going to write down mine. My number 1 value is family. And by the way, I don't expect you guys to nail this on your first time. This took me like days to figure out, because like, how do you determine which one's more important? Number 2 for me is success in business. Is a top core value of mine, to be successful and impact people. And I define success by impact and money. Number 3 is integrity. Is my number 3 core value. Number 4 core value is money. And my number 5 core value, I don't remember what my 5th one was. So let's just do the top 4 for now. Now, by the way, for anyone here who's like, "What? Money? Money's your top 5 core value." Hell yeah, it is. I'm a business owner. I need to make money in order to run a business. The more money I make, the more impact I can have. So for everyone listening right now, you go through your top 5 core values and money is not one of your top 5 core values, you're going to struggle to make money because all of our actions stem from our core values. And if you're not taking actions to make money, your business is always going to struggle. So make sure it's in there. If you got any money stories, then make sure you guys get those solved. Okay. I'm going to turn the chat on in here in a second, but I want to show you guys one more thing. These are my top 5. This is just my own personal transformation advice. This has really nothing to do with messaging, but I will tell you this because this changed everything for me. When our actions in our life are not in alignment with the way we rank our values, we have a lot of friction in our life. What I mean by this is back in 2018, we were so busy, we were growing really fast. I was prioritizing everything in the business above time with my family. And there was something internally off with me and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I realized I'm out of alignment of how my values actually live inside of my body. So I had to readjust it. And ever since then, I feel happy, fulfilled, content. Okay. So now let's take this one step further. Here's one thing that I want you to realize is that your values are actually identities. So when I look at the value of family, I am a husband. I am a brother. I am a father. These are some of my strongest identities, okay? Next, I look at business and success. Another identity is entrepreneur. Another one would be successful. I'll just stop there. You could even put business owner. Integrity. I view myself as a integral person. That's an identity. And I actually have a lot of turmoil in my life when I'm not operating in integrity because it's such a core value of mine. Okay. And then I look at money. I'm just going to put person of money or millionaire or whatever. Okay. So your values will be your identities. Now here's the thing. I want you to go through this and list all of this. What I don't want you to do is to think that everything you are needs to be integrated into your brand. So what you get to do is when you look at your values and your identities, what you get to do is choose which ones do you want to keep so you can attract those people. So if I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, do I want to only attract people with money? No. I want to help anyone that needs my help. So I'm going to cross that one out. That is not going in my content. So what does that mean? I'm not going to post Lambos. I'm not going to post like flashing dollar bills all over the place. I'm not going to talk about, sometimes I talk about how much money we made, but it's a learning lesson. It's not really like, hey, I'm a person of money. I want to attract more people that want more money. That's not what I do. So I cross that one out. Do I want to attract integral people? Yeah, I do. But am I only going after integral people? Like, do they have to be integral? I would like them to be. But it doesn't really matter. Like, that's not really what I'm going after. That's not the core identity of who I want. So I'll cross that one off. But what's interesting is because of how I talk and communicate and the stories I tell and how I show up for people, I actually generally only attract integrity and people with integrity. How I show up to my audience actually allows me to attract people with integrity without saying, are you integral? Okay. So then I look at this, I'm like, I definitely want entrepreneurs. And every once in a while, I'll release the parent part in this. And then I look at some more identities. What's the opposite of success? I go like unheard and unsuccessful and things like that. So then I go, okay, entrepreneur, maybe a little bit of the family thing, and I want this. Now, once you determine the identities you want to bring into your brand, you start using those in your titles. You start using them all over the place. And guess what? The only people that are going to watch that or pay attention to it or love it will be the people with the same values and the same identities. So when I go back to this diagram, what pulls in the people? Well, it starts by putting values and identities in your titles. Value and identity in your titles and in your content. Brings people into your ecosystem. Okay? So let me check in with you guys. Does that make sense? Give me some yeses in the chat box if this makes sense. Now, we have numerous and documents and frameworks inside of the New Generation Mastery Program showing you how to craft those titles. I have script templates and multiple ways to do connection content to show you how to do this effectively. So sometimes just knowing, okay, cool, this is my identity, doesn't really mean you know how to put it in the title correctly, the videos and stuff like that, but we're going to take care of you guys because our program opens up on Monday and we're going to walk you through the entire process. But let me just make sure this makes sense with everyone. Yes, absolutely. Making a whole lot of sense. Not fully. Okay. Mostly yeses. Love this. Do you personally have to be the same identities of the people you want to attract? That's a great question. The answer is no. If you're a personal brand like I am, I would say yeah. But if you have a brand or a corporation, then you need to look, what does the corporation want to attract? The point here is when you start to use identities and values inside of your content, that will be who you want to attract. And if you want to attract people with certain values and identities, then just incorporate them in your content. That's it. Like that's as simple as we want to be. All right. So let me give you an example. If I wanted to attract parent entrepreneurs or dad entrepreneurs, because I had a let's say I had a membership working with parent entrepreneurs, male entrepreneurs. I would say something like, do fathers make the best entrepreneurs? Or does being a father give you an advantage to being an entrepreneur? Question raises curiosity, has two identities in there, then guess who I get to attract? When I title a video, how fathers can become successful entrepreneurs, well, guess who that's going to attract? Fathers and entrepreneurs. So we just start to integrate these things. Remember, it's an ecosystem. We start to integrate these things into our ecosystem. All right, let's move on. We still have 3 more things to go through. We're going to turn the chat off. I'll check in with you guys at the end of this one. The next thing we need to do is we need to focus on what to say. Obviously, that's the second part of this. Shift perspectives and beliefs. Newsflash, your content should not be pitching your products, should not be pitching your services. It's about building rapport, trust, authority, so people want to buy from you down the road. Integrating your beliefs into your content gives it meaning. It makes you different. It allows you to stand out in a way that no one else is standing out. And it gives your audience something to rally behind. This is where you start to take a stand for what you believe in. You get to create the change you want, the change you want to see, and what you want your audience to believe in too. The thing I stand for is going against the grain with all this how-to content BS. It's not as effective anymore for 99% of us. And I take a stand for that. But hopefully what you guys realize is the thing that drives me isn't to teach messaging. It's to teach you communication so you can go make an impact to make a better world for my kids. You want to know why we have the New Generation podcast, New Generation Entrepreneur podcast? Because this is about the next generation. I want an army of people. And this is how I look at all of our students is like, you are a part of my crew. You're a part of my army. I want you to go out there and identify the things that are industry norms, that are causing suffering in people's life, and I want you to destroy them, and I want you to stand out because you're destroying them. I want you to make more sales because you're destroying them. And when we can start to do that, we start to evolve the entire world. We make a better place for our kids to live. That's the thing that I want people to rally behind. I don't want to keep doing this mundane, same thing, how-to content steps over and over and over again. I don't stand for that. I stand for doing something different, and hopefully you guys stand for that too, or you are starting to. So again, remember when we looked at the problems and the actions. Let me draw this out on the board for those of you who missed this yesterday, but some of you guys know what I'm talking about here. Most of you guys know this because this is one of the biggest breakthroughs people had from day number 1. But what I want you to recognize is that as a business owner, you're here to solve problems. That's it. That's the only thing you're here to do. People are experiencing a very specific problem. I want you to write out what that specific problem is. So for me, it's plateaued for 3 months or more in sales or audience. That's a very specific problem that most unheard entrepreneurs have. And then you can be plateaued at 0, 100,000, 200, 500, a million, 2 million, doesn't matter, you're plateaued. So that problem only exists because there's an action they're taking that caused that problem. Sometimes it's a lack of action, but it's better if you guys can identify actions. And that actions is that they're posting 70% of their content is how-to or tutorial-based content. Also, do you guys see how specific I'm getting in this? Plateaued for 3 months, 70% of content is how-to. What this does to the subconscious mind is it goes like, oh my God, I have that problem. Oh my God, that's what I'm doing. Pay attention. Pay attention. Brandon's talking about you. Okay, so pay attention to how specific I'm getting. Now, if we want to take it one step further, there's a belief that's causing this action. In this case, it would be how-to content is how we add value and grow a business online. I'm not going to get into that. We'll dive deeper in that inside the program. And we make it super easy for you guys to figure all this stuff out. But for the sake of today, what I want you to do is to look at these actions. These actions become the thing you stand up for or against. I stand against people doing how-to content. I put in my content. I talk about it. It is a part of my message. And in fact, it's been a huge part of this launch. It's been the major theme inside of this launch is this thing right here, this action. Bringing people's awareness to this has been the major theme in this entire launch, this entire workshop. I'm taking a stand. So when you start to do this exercise, you start to identify these, you put them into our script templates, you put it into our process, you will get data back. I will show you how to look at that data to tell you which one's working, which one's not, how to adjust it, how to evolve it. So what starts to happen is you're not guessing at your marketing anymore. You know exactly what's going to work. I didn't guess at my messaging in this launch. I knew exactly what's going to work because I've went through this process. I took a stand. I was bold. I explained it in a way that didn't require people to think. And I give people these big ahas and mind-blowing moments. But this is what I need you guys to start doing. Okay? So I'm going to read this out to you. I normally don't like to read on presentations, but this was really important, so I do want to read it. For me, I only believe in focusing on how-to content. I believe only focusing on how-to content causes slow growth and little change and little momentum for most entrepreneurs. But this is the most common thing that entrepreneurs focus on. They think it's normal. And as you know, again, this is a huge part of my message. In fact, it was a huge part of this whole series and these 3 days boot camp. And my entire program is actually designed to fix this problem. I also believe that if entrepreneurs like you learn to create messaging and content outside of how-to content, we can change the world by improving society's outdated norms that are causing suffering, which will make a better world for my kids to grow up in. Now, here's the thing, guys. I realize that it might be a little bit scary. You might be afraid of what other people are going to think when you take a stand. But in the next training, the next video, I'm going to actually give you a simple formula to get you to be able to shift someone's perspective, okay? One thing I want you to realize, this is going to be on day number 3. I'm going to give you that framework. The thing I want you to realize today is that I was hopefully able to shift your perspective. I was able to get you to see something a little bit differently, and I did it without being aggressive, offensive, or argumentative. I didn't come here and spit my opinions. I didn't come in here and tell you you're doing something wrong or you're bad or you're going to fail, or I wasn't aggressive. Hopefully I didn't offend you by saying that how-to content might be why you're stuck. I was able to do something else. I'm going to open up the chat. Does that make sense? You guys see that? Do you see how I was able to shift your perspective? Again, this is what most people get afraid of. They get afraid of offending someone or being aggressive or I'm going to be too negative for people. This isn't about that. It's ending suffering. It's a beautiful thing. This isn't about being offensive. I don't want you to be offensive. I want you to end suffering inside of people's lives. Again, it comes down to your communication. It comes down to how you're talking about it. It comes down to understanding this stuff, the problems and the actions, very deeply. Okay? So here's some other things too. If you guys don't want to do this exercise of the problems and actions, you can start by asking yourself these questions. What do you want to change in your industry or even society? What is going on in your industry right now that you think is bad, the old way, but people think is normal? What causes your audience to struggle, but they think this is the way it's supposed to be? And what we're going to start to do is shift their perspective with your message. We're going to give them something to rally behind. And Tim says, I have a hard time applying this to my situation. I totally get that. I'm not telling you guys that the work is easy or quick, because it's not. I will say it's simple, but it takes some work to get to the depth of this. And messaging isn't something that you're going to go through once. Like we'll give you all the details on Monday, but when we open up our program, you'll see that it's lifetime access to any version of the program in the future. And the reason why is because messaging is something that will always change, always evolve. It will grow. It's a living, breathing thing. You're going to have to constantly work on your messaging. And we're going to give you the process on how to do all of that. So if you feel overwhelmed, you're not quite sure yet, believe me, I know that feeling. But it's also normal. So we're going to start helping you put all these pieces together, especially on day 3 and then obviously inside the program. But let's move on to the third part. And then we're going to answer questions at the end. So if you guys have any questions, we'll answer questions at the end. But we still have 2 more things to go through. So what we have to do is we have to connect it to a unique offer. This is where we start to create demand. This is where you get to be that purple freaking bulldog in a sea of cats. I want you to move away from being an expert and into a unique process or a unique solution. I want you to develop your own philosophy, your own methodology. I want you to think of NLP or the hero's journey. Those are pretty much like industry standards. Yeah, let's turn the chat off again. Thank you for reminding me. These are industry standards. Like everyone knows what NLP is. Everyone knows what the hero's journey is, or most people do. But those are almost norms inside the space, but they were created by someone at some point. Everything that we believe to be normal was created by someone at some point, and then everyone else just adapted it and took it on as truth, or this is the way it is. And it all happens automatically. So if we know that's happening, why don't we take advantage of it? You likely already have a process in how you help people. Just give it its own name. That's it. Whoops. That's all you need to do. Okay? There's different ways you can do this. We want to come up with pillars and steps and stuff like that. But the idea here is when I talk about the new generation mastery method, that is my unique philosophy to doing everything we've been covering. I don't want to be known as a messaging expert. I want to be known as the person who created the new generation mastery method, who talks about mastery and messaging. That's it. That's what I want to be known for. Now, I'm going to tell you what my company stands for, because people are like, well, how does this all come together inside of your message? Well, let me tell you. I want you to pay attention to the last 6 words. I want to create a society where it's normal for the new generation, my kids, to make a living from their passions and desires and not feel trapped by the old ways of success. And I know I can make a bigger impact by helping people like you shift the perspective of your industry. And I want to give you the tools outside of how-to content to get your impactful message, product, program, and service out to the masses with the new generation mastery method. The method becomes the tool that allows people to live your message and your change. That makes sense? Did I say that correctly? The method becomes the tool that allows your audience to live your message and what you stand for. The new generation mastery method is how you stand out for standing for something. It's how you can kick how-to content to the curb or can stop doing it 100%. It's how you can break out of the unheard entrepreneur trap. So I'm able to talk about my method inside my content. And when I do that, I start to create demand slowly for my method. I want to highlight Casey Morris. She was a client of ours because she did something pretty spectacular. We helped her with her messaging, worked with her for a couple of years, ran all of her ads, did all of her stuff, and we helped her develop what we calling the CEO teacher method. Okay, so she had a decent business. I don't remember how much revenue she was doing, but she wasn't starting from zero. But she was kind of scattered all over the place, and she was teaching teachers how to sell their resources online. We came in, we redid all of her messaging. She 3x'd her business, had the biggest launch of her life that hit well into the multiple 6 figures. But here's what's really happened, is that people are rallying behind her CEO teacher method. I mean, when people join her program, they literally print out CEO teacher, and they're putting it on their babies and taking pictures and posting it in the Facebook group. Like people are literally saying, I am the CEO teacher. They're posting CEO teacher on their walls. She's creating an actual movement because there's a deeper message behind it. There's a very clear process on how it happens. She's able to shift people's perspective, and she's connecting based off of identities. She's doing everything inside of her messaging ecosystem that I'm talking about today. Okay? So that's just another example of someone else's method, CEO teacher method. We have Caitlin Batcher with the scale method. So what I want you guys to do from here on out is I want you to be the purple freaking bulldog. I want you to have your own unique solution. And when you have your own unique solution, every single piece of educational content you do stems from your unique solution. If you do not know how the piece of content you're putting out there is connected to your unique solution, you don't do it. Don't do it. Again, we don't want our educational content to be all tutorials. You should have multiple types of educational content. But here's why we want everything to stem from the unique solution, because it's consistent messaging. But when something stems from the unique solution inside of our educational content, we can go, hey guys, today I'm going to talk about impactful messaging. This is actually part of pillar number 2, which is subconscious communication inside the New Generation Mastery Method. So if you're an unheard entrepreneur, pay attention. I'm going to get into it right now. So what I just did inside my educational content is I started to drop the messaging elements. Unheard entrepreneur, unique solution, pillar number 2 of the New Generation Mastery Method. Again, remember the whole ecosystem. The whole ecosystem has vehicles with messaging elements. When our educational content stems from the unique solution, it becomes very easy for us to create demand for the unique solution, because when people consume our content, we keep referring to it. It creates a subconscious demand to want it. Okay, let me check in with you guys one more time before we move into the last and final piece of today. Does that make sense? Can I get yes, double hand emoji if bells are going off, if minds are being blown, if this is making sense to you guys? Hallelujah. I almost said hallelujah, but I was like, that's too hard for people to spell. Okay. Cool. A lot of yeses. Hell yes. Bells exploding. Love it. Cool. Sure does. Awesome. Okay. Let's move on to the next step, how to say it. Now, what should be really exciting, hopefully it's not overwhelming to you guys, we're still at the surface level. What we're doing is we're looking at the fruit right now of the tree. We haven't really gotten down to the roots. The values and identity things is part of the roots, but we haven't really gotten down to the good stuff yet. Okay. I want to talk about how to say it so that they automatically understand it. We'll go ahead and turn the chat off again as we get into it, and then as we wrap up, we will answer some questions. So here we go. Here's how you know if you're saying things in the most ineffective way or ineffective way. They don't seem to understand why they need you, even though you just delivered value. Like you're delivering gold, and they're like, cool, thank you. Like they leave, they don't engage. You have no views, and if you get views, it's a battle for them to engage with you. So there's like no engagement, no comments, and there's definitely no conversions. You know you're good, but no one pays attention to you. You never have people leaving feeling like, yes, I need that. Yes, I stand for that. Yes, I believe in that. When they hear your message, communication, or content, people never desire your product or service before you pitch. It's crickets, even though you feel like you just delivered gold. And one of the reasons why that's happening is because you need to speak to the subconscious, and you actually need to have personal power. I never give my personal power away. So one of the things I talk about, especially inside the program, is that I'm going to give you all the language patterns. I'm going to take you through all the exercises. We're going to get you to know what to say and how to say it. But I also need to show you how to do it powerfully, and that's actually a part of the program. I never give my personal power away. I'm not afraid of someone calling me out. I'm not afraid of getting canceled. I'm not afraid of someone calling me out on a typo. I'm not afraid of someone emailing me, telling me that they're going to like tell their friends that they hate me. I'm not afraid of someone leaving a comment. It doesn't bother me an ounce. It goes like right past me. When we run into problems is when we give our power to those things. We give our energy to those things. You have a hater and it consumes you all day and you're thinking about it. That's all energy you're giving to that person that could go towards your communication, towards your brand, towards your messaging, towards your content. So I don't want you to give away your power. I have typos all over the place. I don't care. If you don't like it, that's fine. I'm okay being me and risk losing a connection with someone. Because I know there are people that will like that with me. The deeper I know myself, the deeper the connection I'm going to have with my audience. And that's the same thing with you. The deeper you remember who you are, the deeper you know who you are, the more personal power you maintain, the deeper and more powerful connection you'll have with your audience. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you a diagram. We talked a little bit about it on day one, but I'm going to give you a diagram of what happens and why we need to talk to the subconscious mind, okay? I want to run you guys through a scenario here. If someone feels offended, like someone says something to them and they feel offended, or someone feels embarrassed or mad, or someone says something to you and you feel embarrassed or mad or whatever, what I want you to recognize is that you didn't have to think about what to feel. You automatically felt it. When you read a really good book, do you generally have to think about whether the book's good or not? No. You feel it. It pulls you in, right? Now, in both cases, those two scenarios, that all happened without you thinking about it. Your subconscious started to form decisions without you consciously thinking about it. And this is the same thing that happens with your audience. In fact, you guys have already been doing this with the series. You've been doing it with the ads. You've been doing it today. Hopefully, today has left you guys automatically feeling like, oh, this is great. I love this. This is mind-blowing. This is value-adding. I love this. I like Brandon. Hopefully that's the feeling you automatically got. But the point is you never sat down, like you likely never sat down and said, is this good? Let me map it out. What qualifies good? I don't know. Let me map that out. No, because you did that would have been a conscious decision. Okay? So you've already been doing it with me today, but I've been very intentional with how I'm talking and communicating. So you don't have to think about anything. I want you to automatically feel it. Now, this is really important. I know you guys get this by now. Educational content lets the audience and their subconscious automatically come up with how they feel about your content. When we only teach and we're not speaking to the subconscious mind, we are totally at the mercy of the subconscious of our audience. Does it make sense? Do they like it? Are they overwhelmed? We don't know. We have no control over how they're going to feel or interpret our information. You require them to use logic to decide if that piece of content was good. And you let their mind come up with the conclusions instead of leading your audience. I know how to communicate. I know where things might get a little overwhelming. I know when we might need a metaphor. I might know when we need a counterexample. I know when we need a story. I know when I need to use a certain language pattern. Those are all things that I use, and the more you learn these, you'll see me use them all over the place to lead the audience, to get them to realize the things I want them to realize. And this is what all the good books do. So when we look at like Simon Sinek, he's a leader in his space and has a huge TED Talk. He doesn't just get up there and give you a tutorial. Why? Because Simon Sinek is arguably, in my opinion, I'll just put it in my opinion, one of the best communicators that I have ever seen. And he has a ton of best-selling books. And when you look at the way he writes, he does exactly what I'm talking about here today. He doesn't just get up there and give you a tutorial because he wants his points to land in a certain way, and he knows exactly how to communicate it so that it automatically gives the response that he wants or the realization. Now, of course, this is never going to be 100%. You're not going to be able to communicate and have 100% of people realize the one thing you want them to, but the majority will. And if Simon Sinek wanted to pitch a program on, I don't know, leadership at the end of his 18-minute TED Talk, he's not going to have to hard pitch. He's not going to have to hard sell. He's just going to open up the door and he'll make sales. The biggest mistake you guys can make, or one of them, is assuming that people will believe you because you're the authority. I'm telling you right now, the beliefs your audience have will overpower the authority that you think that you have. You could be the number one authority on a certain topic in the world. You could be the most certified, the highest education, the most qualified. You could be, in your opinion, the number one person in the entire world. And if you're not able to communicate to address the beliefs that are automatically running in your audience's head, they will not listen to you. I hope this doesn't get controversial. Please, I'm not giving any opinion on anything right now. But when we look at the Joe Rogan podcast, when he had one of the doctors on, I forgot the guy's name, who helped like over 8,000 COVID patients and was talking about all the things that he was talking about, he was very qualified. but there was a lot of controversy around it because it was colliding with beliefs that people had. So again, you could classify him as an authority. Again, I'm not taking a stand on anything. I don't care what your beliefs are, and this is not what this is about. But it's a perfect example of someone who's very qualified. Could be, he thought he was an authority, but had major controversy because he was unable to battle the beliefs that people already had. We have to learn how to communicate, and we have to understand where our audience is. And it's as simple as just learning some language patterns, guys. It's not that difficult once you learn how to do it. So let me draw this out on the board. We did talk about it on day one. And then I'm going to give you one tool that you can use by the end of today. Okay, where did my pen go? Oh, here it is. Okay. So let me give you one example. Oh, did we freeze? Is it frozen? I don't know. Okay, the screen here is frozen. I'll keep going. Okay. So here's what's happening. We have an experience. Your audience has an experience. There we go. Uh-oh. Okay, I'll keep going. Okay, so we have an experience. Or sorry, our audience has an experience with us. They have an experience with our content. Our audience has an experience. This could be content, communication. It could be an ad. They consume the ad, and I'm going to call it AR, but AR stands for automated response. Okay? They have an experience. They have an automated response. That automated response evokes an emotion. Okay. It says yes. It says yes, let's go. Click to rebroadcast again.
No.
Boom, 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 boom. We're back. Okay. Can we open up the chat real quick? I just want to make sure. Is everyone here? Can you guys see me, hear me? Are we good? Good. Keep going. I don't know if we lost anyone there. Okay. Some yeses in the chat box if we're good to go. I can hear you now. Oh, good. Okay, cool. All right. You're back. Brandon's back. Back again. All right. Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and let's go ahead and turn the chat off, and then we will keep on going. So I'm just going to pick up in the beginning because I don't know where we left off. Hopefully you guys can see it on the screen and you see it here. But what happens is we have our audience has an experience. They experience our content, our ads, our emails, whatever it is. They have an automated response. Their subconscious automatically gives them a response that evokes an emotion. And that emotion tells them if they should stay or they should leave. And if they decide to stay, they go to the next experience with us. And if they leave, they're out. They don't engage, they don't buy, they don't follow us, they don't do anything. So what happens is from point A to point Z, so point A would be the first time they consume our content, point Z would be they buy, they become a customer. They're going through experience. And that's what you guys have done since the very first time that I sent you an email or a social media post or an ad. That was the very first experience. And you've continued to have a series of experiences that gave you an automated response, that evoked emotion, that have caused you to stay, which is why you're still here. And I was very intentional with that. And this is what your audience is doing. So if your audience is continuing to leave, what it means is you have to change the experience they're having with your content. It means they don't understand why they should stay. Their subconscious is telling them to leave. Either they're saying things like, this isn't relevant to me, this isn't mind-blowing, I get no value, this is boring, doesn't apply to me, not having that problem, whatever, don't like this person, whatever. There's a ton of reasons why they're going to leave. So we want to be very intentional with our experience. The way to change the experience is how we communicate. Change the way we communicate in our content. This also means our titles, our headlines, our webinar titles, how we communicate on a webinar, our ads, our sales pages, our live streams, our copy, all have to be communicating consistently, powerfully into the subconscious mind. I want to check in with you guys. Does this make sense? We're going to open up the chat box because I'm about to give you a tool that's going to show you how to do this. Does this make sense? Yep. Yep. Make sense? Yes. Breakthrough. Cool. Give me the tool. All right. Cool. Yeah, a lot of breakthroughs. Okay, cool. All right, let's turn off the chat box and let's move into the tool. I've developed almost all of the tools we have inside the program. Some of the tools I did get from, oh gosh. What the heck is the guy's name? I'm going to think about it. We give him credit inside of our program, but some of the tools were developed by someone else, but the majority of the tools that we use were developed by me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you one of them right now. We have over 26 of them inside the program. And if you can master all 26, shit, you don't even have to master all 26. You master 10 of them, I guarantee you your content, your sales, and your communication will drastically transform to a level you've never experienced before. And I want you to realize something. It's very easy for us right now to go like, how does this apply to me? How does this apply to my program? Will these tools help me make more sales? What I want you to realize, the answer is yes. Obviously, you guys know that. But what I want you to realize is that what I'm talking about and what I'm about to give you, it will help you for the rest of your life. It will help you with no matter what business you're in, what ad you're running, what product you're selling. It might even help you with the communication with your spouse, your family, your kids. What I'm about to give you and what I'm about to tell you is that when you can master this communication, you will never have a hard time getting your point across to people. And this is a skill and a tool that will benefit you for the rest of your life. That is the power of what I'm offering you guys. That is the power of what I can help you with. Because it's communication and language patterns at the core of it. What we fill it up with, we can take you through exercises and do all that stuff. But what I'm about to give you and what we have inside the program with over 26 language patterns is something that you will use for the rest of your life. And I want you to think about how much value that's going to be for you just this year alone. It's probably going to be a lot. So let's hop into the first one. The very first tool, the one I love talking about the most is because it's the one I use the most, is something I call backing it up. I never say something or teach something and assume that you're just going to believe me because I'm the authority. Oops. Getting ahead of myself. So what is backing it up? Backing it up is anytime I state something that I want you to agree with, I back it up with an example, a story, a metaphor, analogy, and I do it very fluidly. Do you notice that every time I say something like how-to content is not how to grow a business online, let's look at Lewis Howes, now let's look at what Gary Vaynerchuk is doing, I actually spend more time backing up what I just said than I did actually saying the dang thing. And when you look at like Simon Sinek's books, he will usually open up like a paragraph and then the rest of the chapter is backing it up. Now, there's more to it. There's an art to it. You have to be able to present these metaphors or these counterexamples and stuff in a way that clicks automatically with your audience. And sometimes it takes some getting used to figure out the right ones. But when you find the right ones, you can use them over and over and over again. So I never just state something, assume you believe it, and move on. Because what starts to happen is people start stating stuff and stating stuff and stating stuff and stating things and saying things and teaching and teaching and teaching and more information. And then before you know it, you just gave someone 10 things that you want them to believe, and and you expect their subconscious just to agree with all 10 of them because you're the one up there teaching. That doesn't happen. That's why people are leaving. Anytime you state something and you want someone to believe it, that's an experience. You do it 10 times, you're gambling that their automated response and emotion is going to be something that causes them to stay. You're literally gambling. So instead of gambling, let's present things in a way that cause their subconscious mind to automatically go, yep, I need it. So this is how we start to change the experience is before you even talk, before I get on a webinar, before I go do a presentation, I know what I'm going to say, what I'm going to teach, and I know how I'm going to back it up. And what that does is it leaves people with mind-blowing moments. And again, I've been doing it all day. I've been doing it day 1. I did it today. I'm going to continue to do it in day 3. But that's what we use. We use backing it up. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to open it up for questions and see and check in with you guys. We're going to wrap up things right now. I just want to kind of just quickly go through the 4 things we need. So here's the 4 things, just to kind of recap. Number 1, we need connection through identity and values. We need to shift perspectives and beliefs. We need to connect it all to a unique offer. And we need to speak so your audience automatically gets it. Someone's saying the guy's name is something. No, that's not it. It might be Robert Dilts. Yeah, Robert Dilts is the person who has some of the patterns that I use. And you guys don't even know what the patterns are, so you wouldn't know who the person name is anyways. But okay, those are the 4 things we need. Now, just to kind of like put all of this stuff together, I know we've kind of gone through a lot. There's just one last thing I want to do. I want to show you how to put identities into titles. So I have an example here, how to lose 10 pounds. Instead of doing a video titled how to lose 10 pounds, you can do things like how stay-at-home moms or dads lose 10 pounds. Boom, identity in the title. You can even say how stay-at-home moms are losing 10 pounds without dieting. Now we're going against the grain. Now we're a little bit more unique. Now we have identity in there. Or how to run, instead of saying how to run faster, how busy dads can run faster without doing speed work or something like that. Or how newbies can run faster. We just start to integrate beliefs and identities into titles. Okay? Now you guys may be going, okay, great, Brandon, I love the messaging. I understand it. How does this apply to me? How do I translate this into content? Well, what we're going to do on day number 3 is I'm going to give you 3 different types of content you can use. So I want you to take things that we're learning today, and we're going to deploy them through content, and we're going to break that down on day number 3, which will be this Thursday. And then on Monday, we're going to be opening up cart to New Generation Mastery, our program. And hopefully we have it now. I'm kind of throwing a wrench into the plans here, so hopefully my team can adapt fast. We have a wait list for anyone who is interested in joining New Generation Mastery, and you want to be the first one to be notified when we open up the doors. We do have different levels of how we work with people, and some of those levels, if you want more help and want to work directly with me and the coaches, are limited because there is one-on-one help. So I would get on that wait list if you have any interest in joining. The link should be there in the chat box. But again, we have day number 3. We're going to go through the content. We will also be doing one-on-one calls with people to determine if this is the right fit for you. We've worked with over 1,000 students, so I know right off the bat, like, are you going to get an ROI? Is this right for you, or who it's not? And we will straight up tell you, yeah, you're not a right fit. I don't want people to join if you're not a right fit. So get on that list. And here's what we got going on. Again, breakthroughs. I want to hear your biggest breakthrough. I get lit up by reading these breakthroughs. I've been trying to respond to every single one. The last 24 hours has been difficult because there's a lot, but the first 24 hours I responded to all of them. There's over 100, and I do read every single one. So I do want to hear the breakthrough, but we are going to give a $500 grand prize to someone whoever posts the biggest breakthrough. Okay. Another thing is we will be doing hot seats at the end of day number 3. You can apply for a hot seat. I think we have over 100 applications already, and we're only picking 3 to 5 people. So you can apply for the hot seat at the end of day 3. If you want to watch day number 3 and watch the hot seats, just stay to the end. And remember, after we open up carts, so after we open up enrollment, we do something called the game show. We're going to give away over $3,000 worth of prizes on this game show. And we're going to be quizzing you on things that I taught in day 1, 2, and 3. We'll quiz you. Whoever gives the answer first gets entries, and I believe we pull a name, or whoever has the most points at the end wins, or something like that. We'll give you all the rules the day of the game show, but make sure that you guys are there. This is huge. Like, this is really fun. A lot of people always come in and have a blast. It's just, there's not really much teaching going on. It's just quizzing you and answering questions and giving away money. And I've been known to give out more prizes than what's listed on the screen. So I want you guys to go do that now. So with that being said, let's open it up to questions. I'm going to look at the question box, not the chat box, to determine what questions to answer. And then we'll go ahead and wrap it up, but make sure you're back here on Thursday at the same exact time. So let me grab the mouse. Where did I put the mouse at? Oh, there it is. All right, so let me grab this guy. Ooh. Okay, how long did we go for? Oh wow, we went for almost 2 hours. Like my intention was for these trainings to be an hour, but hopefully you guys don't mind that they're longer. All right, so let's start answering some questions. All right. Hey, Brandon, how can I adjust my content if I'm having consumers happy watching content more than my customers? I do all sorts of content, not just how-tos. Thanks. Let me see. I don't understand that. Let me see if I can. How can I adjust my content if I'm having consumers more than customers? Well, you're always going to have more consumers than customers. I mean, we have an audience of maybe 100,000 people on our email list, but we have 1,000 customers, so you're always going to have more consumers than customers. Maybe I didn't understand the question, but if you want to re-ask it, just let me know. Okay, I offer home organization services, but particularly before a home move. I'm always unsure whether to address their main issue or the current situation. To address the main issue, okay. So we're not addressing issues, and we're not addressing necessarily current situations. Again, I just want to make it very simple. Don't overthink this. Identify a very specific problem they have and what action's causing the problem. That's it. You don't need to look at issues or situations or whatever. Maybe a situation and an issue is a problem, but let's just boil it down to problems. Figure out very specific problems they're having and what actions are causing it. That's how we start. And then that's how we start to meet them where they're at. When you start to describe someone's problem, the mistake that they're doing, and they literally have that problem, they're literally making that mistake, their subconscious is firing on all cylinders. They're like, pay attention to this person and pay attention to them now. Does it work for physical products? Yes, it does. And the example I always give is like a baby bottle. Like if I had a brand selling baby bottles and like children gear and stuff like that. For me as a parent, my biggest concerns are there chemicals in it? Is it going to break? And is it going to spill? So I would create a unique solution around that. Our products all are break-proof, spill-proof, and made with absolutely no harmful chemicals. Every single product. Now, I would go to that brand and buy anything because they have this unique philosophy of the 3 pillars that I'm looking for inside of baby products. So yes, that it's still the same. You're going to have to make some adjustments and changes because I do communicate more to the course creator and coach. But yeah. Okay. Jim Fortin has said this about money being a top value. Yep. You will struggle as a business owner. Was this a top value of yours when you started working? No, it was not. That's how I know. Basically, everything that I teach you guys stems from mistakes I've made or experiences I've had. I very rarely will ever teach you something I didn't do myself or go through myself. I don't think there's a lot of integrity in that. Okay. Should I include, well, let me backtrack. There is integrity. You guys can study all you want and know what to do. I just know that I can go deeper when I speak from experience. And so that's why I like to speak from experience or things that I've done. Should I include a value of me, but as a value of my audience has not developed yet? No, it's not how it works. You get the identity that you have, but the identity of who you want to attract. If you're going to put an identity out there and they don't have that identity, well, then they're not going to be attracted to your content. So you need to figure out their identities. And if you're trying to get an identity that they will develop, that's you speaking from where you are at, not where they're at. So you have to put identities of the people you want to attract. Okay. How is durability of houses that my clients are building an identity? It's not. I really care about durabilities of homes. Yeah, that's not a core value, and that's not an identity. So what you want to look at would be things like, what identity or value do you have to care about durable homes? Maybe it's integrity, maybe it's engineering. We focus more on like people that actually care about integrity and engineering. And because we focus on those two things, we're able to build durable houses. And then you start to attract people that value engineering and like integrity or something like that. I mean, adjust it to make sense, but hopefully you get the idea. Okay. I'm translating the info as a volunteer for a ministry that I am a rep for in New Mexico. A lot translates good in the terms of methods. Is it a national or yes, K through 12 using churches? Yeah. I mean, look, I'm teaching you guys concepts, and we have to then take those concepts and apply them to you. That's why we have the program. That's what we do inside the program. I have yet to this day found a business or organization that it doesn't work for. We worked with churches. We've worked with homeschool coaches. We worked with doctors, people in the medical space, in the beauty space, in the coaching space, local marketers, MLMers. I mean, physical products. Like the list just goes on at churches. The list goes on and on. So yeah, you just have to adapt it to you specifically. Okay, cool. What is the cost of the program? I'd like to think seriously about this. All the details will be released on Monday. But here's the thing. One of the reasons why I don't reveal the price is if your focus is on what does the price of this program cost me, you're looking at it from not the best perspective, in my opinion. What we should be looking at is how much am I losing right now by not having these tools, and these tools that will affect me and bring in money for the rest of my life. If I wait 6 months or a year, how much revenue am I pushing away that I'm going to be able to generate over the next 6 months or a year? One of the best things I ever did as an entrepreneur is I looked at what I can gain from something, not what something cost me in the moment, because that's short-term thinking. I'm always looking at, will this generate me more money in the long run? And if I don't have it, how much money am I losing, and what problems are still going to exist inside of my life? So that's one of the reasons why I don't just say, here's the price, everybody, because it causes you to make decisions from a perspective that sets you up for failure. All right. Do you teach us how to build personal power? Yes, we do. It's one of my favorite topics. I talk about misconceptions about mental health, and I'm sure worried about accidentally hurting people. I also don't have a degree. Good, you don't need a degree. I don't have a degree in psychology. I've never taken an NLP course, but here I am talking about psychology because I just learned it. And it's okay to be nervous. The person says, I'm nervous. I'm afraid I won't be seen as having actual authority. You don't need authority. Remember what I said. If you cannot remove the beliefs or talk to the subconscious, it doesn't matter how much authority you have. You could be the biggest authority in the entire freaking world, and if you're not able to communicate from the audience's perspective, they're not going to listen to you. We've gotten into this idea that we need authority to be perceived as an authority. And authority means we need degrees and this and that. No. To be perceived as an authority, you need to blow people's minds. I'm a college dropout. I effing hated school. I was a art history major. No, art major, digital art major. Dropped out after 2.5 years. Never took an official psychology, language, communication, or NLP course. But what I've done over the last couple of years is realize, hey, I'm really good at shifting people's perspective and communicating, and I'm really good at identifying how people are doing it to me, and I'm able to develop a whole system around this. The second I blow your mind and give you a realization you never had before, boom, I get instant authority. I have 0 certifications to my name. And I got started with 0 certifications to my name. But I understand. When I was in 2018, end of 2018, beginning of 2017, beginning of 2018, I had a $500,000 a year business, and we weren't very profitable. All the money coming in was going right back out. I didn't like what I was doing, so I shut it all down. Within 3 to 4 months, I was $40,000 in debt. And here I was teaching marketing. I had huge imposter syndrome going like, I'm teaching people how to market and make money online and do all this stuff. And here I am, $40,000 in debt. What is going on? And I realized in that moment that I was still able to generate some kind of result. So I was still able to do $500,000 a year. I was able to produce that. I actually did that. And right now, if you're able to give someone a result, even if it's a small result, that's the only thing you need. No one said you needed a degree or certification except for you. Okay? So focus on shifting people's perspectives and their minds. Okay. What's the meaning of your 3 bracelets? That's a long story. But yeah, it's a long story. We can talk about it another time. Okay, I guess having awesome charisma helps, but then what being in your power looks like, right? I don't know if I fully understand the question, but I think that if I understand it correctly, you're talking about charisma and personal power. I think they're one and the same. When you maintain more personal power, it comes through, and that would be identified as charisma. I guess, okay. Where can we find training that Brandon mentioned? You can go in the Facebook group, Master Your Messaging Facebook group. It's all in there. Maybe the team will post a link. If there are 26-ish language tools, does that mean we can use different ones at different times? Yep, you totally can. Yeah, so some of them are used at certain times and some of them are used whenever. Backing it up, you can kind of use whenever. You can use it in content, sales funnels. You can use it on sales pages. There's another one called the list method that we use basically on webinars, or every time we want to teach a step, we have a process we go through before we actually teach the step to create demand for the step and pull people in. So yeah, it just depends. Okay. Can there be many actions to one problem? Yes, there can. Brandon, regarding method, is relationship dynamic astrology method? What do you mean? It's kind of long. The name doesn't matter as much as how you describe it, so just keep that in mind. All right, we're just going to answer a couple more, guys, and we'll wrap it up. Going back to the start, when we were talking about only be where you want to be, how do you rationalize that against where your customers are? Okay, so first of all, I didn't say be where you want to be. That wasn't a term that I said. I said do what you want to do, say what you want to say in terms of your message and what you're saying and what your posting strategy is. Like, you don't want to be on TikTok, then don't be on your TikTok. Like, you're going to be fine. So that's the first thing. Let's clarify that. I never said just to be where you want to be. You want to be where your customers are. So to rationalize that, well, I guess I just did rationalize it. So yeah, just do what you want to do. And then once you figure out, here's what I want to do, then you communicate, okay, this thing that I want to do, how do I communicate that and meet their audience where they're at? I start with their problems. So here's the thing that I want to do, and here's the way I want to do it. What problems does this solve? Let me go there and let me talk about the problems and the actions and bring awareness. And now I'm meeting my audience where they're at. Okay. I have a product, insurance retirement, and a business opportunity that I offer. I know you said to have 2 sets of different avatars. Should different profile? Okay, great question. Yeah, that's a good question. We didn't give the 26 language tools. We would be here for like 10 hours if we were going to go through all of them. I gave you one of them, which was backing it up. And I gave you that one because obviously I don't want to overwhelm you. You don't need to master all 26. And just with that one, you will be able to go and see results with it today. Like I challenge you guys, go out and use it today. You'll see results with it, I promise. So without knowing more information, I would say you want 2 different brands, business opportunity versus insurance and retirement. How much nurture, provide value, inspire, entertainment versus selling? Gary sees is give. Do you agree with the approach? I agree with the way Gary does his stuff. I don't necessarily agree with the things he says in this stuff. Well, let me put it this way. I think Gary is a great communicator, a great content creator. Some of the things I don't agree with are like that you have to hustle in order to be successful and that you have to give. I do think you have to give, but the way he says it makes you assume that you have to give more information-based value. So I don't necessarily agree with that 100%. But I do think you do have to give and show up and serve 100%. I just want to change the narrative of how that's done. But I definitely think Gary is a master of content creation. You can't deny that. Like, the guy's a beast. And that's the other example of what I'm giving is like, I wouldn't say what Gary's doing is wrong or bad or whatever. It works. And his values and identities don't totally align with my identities and values and beliefs. And that's totally fine. It doesn't make him wrong. It just makes him having a perspective, and he wants to stand behind that perspective. And he should. That's what all of you should. But you should also know that not everyone's going to connect with it. And I don't connect with his message 100%. I would say like 60 to 70% I do. But that's the whole point, is that you're not going to connect with everyone. You shouldn't want to. Okay, I'm just going to answer 2 more. So are using pictures effective in communicating? Yes, 100%. Go look at the holistic psychologist, nothing but images. But you will need to make sure that the caption with the image is effective. Okay, last question. Consumers versus customers. What I meant didn't make it clear. I've got lots of people who are warm, interested, and a perfect fit to become customers, except they don't. They are happy to support, shout out, anything, but they never buy anything. Yeah, you're getting friend zoned. I like that. That makes sense. A couple things. You haven't conveyed the value they're going to get. That's it. You haven't created desire. You haven't created demand. You haven't communicated effectively. You've communicated effectively to get them there. But remember what I said about the experience. It sounds like you've mastered the experience up into the point of getting them to like a webinar or something like that. Then once they're on the webinar, there's something in the experience that's causing them to leave because they're not becoming a customer. So it sounds like if we go from A, just hearing about you, Z being a customer, somewhere around like M or N, there's something happening in the experience that's causing them to leave. You got to figure out what that is and change it. Okay. Holistic psychologists, HOLISTIC, psychologist, I think, mostly does all image-based content. But she's great about raising awareness, making you aware of things that you have never been aware of before. Okay, she's really great at that. Okay. Thank you guys for being here. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up because we're hitting around the 3-hour mark. And I'm just so grateful for all of you guys spending 3 hours with me again today. We're going to do it again on Thursday. And then on Monday, we're going to be giving you guys an opportunity to go to the depth. We're going to give you an opportunity to start putting this together. We're going to give you an opportunity to start working with me, with the coaches, to get calls with me, and continue all of this stuff on a much deeper level and start putting all the pieces together. So get ready for Monday, join the wait list, and I'll see all of you on Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Take care, everyone. Can't wait to see your breakthroughs.